it's almost mad that he wants to stay. Yeah. And that shouldn't be the case at all, should it? That's really embarrassing, to be honest. Bruno Fernandes wins both of these trophies, and it's the 4th time in 6 years that he has won the Sir Matt Busby Player of the Year, the main Player of the Year at Manchester United. Yeah. Before that, it was David De Gea. I think it was 4 in 5 years that he won.
Yeah, I think that's what he did.
Especially as a goalkeeper, obviously, there's something sort of vaguely shameful about it. But I want to talk about, what does it say about Manchester United that we keep relying on one player for a generation and no one else can step up in that time, and then it switches to the next player for a generation and no one else steps up? Just for full transparency, Ronaldo won the other one. Ronaldo and Rashford won the other 2 in the last 6 years. Bruno's won 4, Ronaldo's won 1, Rashford's won 1. Those 2 people aren't at the club anymore, sort of, but basically not.
No.
Is that a problem, do you think, Jay?
A little bit, because I was looking back at this, because I'll be honest with you, I'm not overly concerned about the Player of the Year awards. You know the players that you like, you know the players that you think have been good enough. I don't think a fan needs an award to tell them their opinion on it. But it is somewhat of an indictment of the lack of real quality we've had throughout the team at times, because De Gea, as I think, like you said, won it 4 out of 5. Bruno won it 4 out of 5. Until De Gea, no one had won it 4 times, that award. Yeah. Then he won it, and then Ronnie did it, but Ronnie had won 3 of them under Fergie, so that's not quite the same.
De Gea was also the first goalkeeper to win it. And then to win it so much.
Yeah, I think the De Gea one was a little bit embarrassing at times, because you remember when Jose went and asked for a vase to give Scott McTominay the manager's award that he just created at the awards ceremony, because he was a bit like, we can't just keep giving it to the goalkeeper. You look at the one now with Bruno. Bruno's a phenomenal player, no one's saying he isn't. But when I was looking back over like the sort of the post-Fergie era and the pre-Fergie era, I think Roy Keane won back-to-back ones, and I think Van Nistelrooy might have. Yeah, but you had like 7 players in 10 years that had won that award. And they're all like world-class, iconic legends. And then the next 10 years, you had like 2 or 3. Or maybe not 2, like 3 or 4, sorry. Yeah. Because it was just stats with these 1 or 2 players, and it's almost like if you turn up consistently for Manchester United now, you win the Player of the Year award. That's enough, because when De Gea was doing it, yes, there was other players that were good. I think there was one where Ander Herrera won one year, and there was a season where Zlatan didn't win it. Luke Shaw. Zlatan had a very good season. There was a season when Paul Pogba had a good season. We've had players that have had good seasons, but how many times have you had a real head scratcher when it comes to who's been our best player over the year? You know, back in the day, it'd be like, oh, well, you know, you might say it's Beckham, I might say it's Keane, you might say it's Giggs, I might, someone else.
There's a debate to be had.
Yeah. Now it's like, it's Bruno, innit?
So this one, I think, was one of the easiest of the lot, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Does it worry you that, I mean, obviously, we have such a lot of problems, and this is almost looking at this isn't really, this is more of a symptom than a cause, if you know what I mean. But it does just go to show how inconsistent our squads have been, how little we can rely on players staying at the club as well. Like I said about Ronaldo and Rashford, they won it a couple of years ago. Neither of them are still here anymore. Yep. It is a problem, isn't it, this?
There's 2 ways of looking at it. You can look at it optimistically and say, well, it could be a worse problem if Bruno wasn't there. Who would be the best player? Who would be the best player of the year?
That's a horrible question to think about now you mention it.
But also, it is an indictment of what Manchester United have become, because of the glimmers of hope that we've had or potential we've seen in certain players, and whether that's down to injury or lack of form. You look at Casemiro. I think if Ahmad had stayed fit this season, that might have been more of a shout. But for by and large, and for a long time, not so much in the De Gea days, but now with Bruno Fernandes, United are very much a one-man team in terms of like who's scoring the goals, who's assisting the goals, you're right, who's winning the games. You know that's what we've become. So it's not surprising why Bruno Fernandes is winning it. Nobody else is stepping up to the plate.
I'm just looking at the numbers on that. Sorry, I wasn't trying to ignore that. Just looking at the Premier League. Well, Bruno's got 8 goals, 9 assists. He's top of both lists. In all competitions, he's got 19 goals and 19 assists, which is the most of any number 10 in Europe, I think. But clearly, by far more than any other United player in both categories. It's like, obviously, maybe this season he would have won it anyway, but wouldn't it be nice to have someone who had 25 goals but 4 assists, and then you go, oh, actually, there's a bit of this guy's more productive, but Bruno sets more for his... It's like Bruno and then absolutely nothing for 1,000 years, and then Ahmad, who has been really good but has missed a third of the season with injury, and it's like Bruno Fernandes might have won it anyway, but I do think it's the issue with being a one-man team is just obviously massive. And it's not like we've got, look at like Liverpool. You could argue for large parts of the season they were kind of a one-man team with Salah, weren't they? Let's be honest. I know they had Van Dijk was playing very well and they had other people playing really well, but he got the most ever goals and assists in a Premier League season, and he basically stopped 2 months ago. So up until Christmas he was doing everything for him. But even then, like I said, they still had Van Dijk and they still had Gravenberch playing fantastically well. They had Diaz stepping up at times, Gakpo coming in as well when they needed to. They had Alisson as well when he wasn't getting injured, which I don't understand how a keeper gets injured so much. But with United, it's Bruno and then just nothing. Yeah. It's so bad. I'm almost. I was watching all the videos with him. I don't know if you watched it. Owen Hargreaves did 2 videos, one with Amorim, one with Bruno, inside Old Trafford talking about the Europa final. And I thought they were really good, and I actually quite like how Hargreaves comes across most of the time, to be honest. But he was just asking him about, big moments in Europe for Man United and what it means to be here. But Bruno talks about the club so positively and talks about how, when you do something here, it might just be a sort of a small thing to you, but it's massive for so many people. And he seems to genuinely get what it is to be a United captain and a United player. But in the world of football, if he was to say, you know what, I want to go to Real Madrid, I want to go to Barcelona. Look what Alexander-Arnold's just done at Liverpool. If Bruno was to do the same, you couldn't argue with it. You really couldn't be mad at. You could be mad at him and pissed off, but you couldn't say, I don't get it. It's almost mad that he wants to stay. Yeah. And that shouldn't be the case at all, should it? That's really embarrassing, to be honest.
Bruno Fernandes is a title-winning player. He is. He could easily play in Liverpool's team or one of the City teams that have won titles recently, and he wouldn't look out of place. He could fit in a Champions League winning team. His numbers speak for themselves.
He's got better numbers this season than Yamal, than Bellingham.
There's no doubt.
He'd be in the Ballon d'Or conversation.
It's not just about Bruno Fernandes. I know we're talking about him and he keeps winning it. But it's been going on for a while now, and we've had it in the past on this channel where we've tried to do a debate at the end of the season, and you're struggling to find 4 players if 4 of you want to have a debate. 4 different players that you can all stick up for because it's become so obvious that it's one standout. And it isn't always because someone's just been amazing. Because there's times when Bruno Fernandes has been, I thought his first season where he was mint, or it might have even been his second one, but he also had, Martial scored 20 odd goals, Rashford scored 20 odd goals, Greenwood put up similar numbers. There was other players that were stepping up and having a good season. It was just Bruno had a phenomenal one. But it doesn't feel like that in a minute. And it didn't feel like that at times with David De Gea. It felt like the reason the goalkeeper kept winning the Man of the Match award or the Player of the Match award or the Player of the Year was because he had a lot to do. Because he had to keep us in the game all the time because we weren't a good team. Now it feels like Bruno Fernandes is doing everything. It's not just his numbers. You can get caught up in that. But he's the only one that stays fit all the time. Everyone else you've mentioned that could be a potential Player of the Year, injuries have done for him. You think you've only mentioned Ahmad, to be fair. Yeah. But I think if Ahmad had stayed fit, maybe he could. Maybe Mainoo would have been in the shout.
Luke Shaw won it a couple of years ago.
Luke Shaw might have,
Martinez was playing well before he got injured.
Brilliant shout, Martinez, or De Ligt even, But they've all suffered injury issues. Bruno hasn't. He doesn't. He plays every week. And it just shows you that there's a lot of problems at Manchester United. And the only sad thing about Bruno Fernandes, the only negative you've got is, he's not going to be here for another 10 years. He's 30.
Sad as shit.
I think he'll actually play into his mid-30s. I think he's just physically he's a bit of a freak in a good way. Yeah. And he looks after himself. And I'm hoping he'll be able to do a little bit like Scholes. He'll alter his game because he's that good. Good players can do that. But, sooner or later, we're going to have to replace him. And the trouble is, we've got to replace about another fucking 8 players as well.
Yeah, get him in a cryo chamber every summer. That's what I would do. What was Bruno's numbers like previous years compared to this year, Joe? Because if you remember, it's at the beginning of the season when Ten Hag was still in charge. He didn't start the season well, Bruno Fernandes, at all. There has been a shift in terms of how he's playing. He's adapted more to Amorim's style when he's come in. And I've been reading a lot of the noise on Twitter or X or whatever, on social media, where everyone's saying that it's the worst performing team in the league positions and stuff. But the way I look at it is in the sense of the players that I could see stay at Manchester United, the potential player of the years, if they were fit, when they are on the pitch, have played well. Do you know Ahmad, Martinez, Mount's played well since he's got. I expect them players to play well because I don't want them to. The rest that haven't, I'd be happy to see them go. So I'm not bothered if they're underperforming, but it's the ones you want to stay.
Yeah, I think you're right about early in the season. He wasn't himself. And I always wonder as well with Bruno, sometimes we'll have these spells, but I think sometimes when you're playing that much, at some point you're going to get lose a bit of form because you're just playing week in, week out, it might catch up with you. He always plays for his country as well. Let's not forget. He's
usually playing about 70 games.
He usually breaks the when you look at minutes.
Yeah.
It's usually a bunch of goalkeepers and Bruno Fernandes who played the most minutes in Europe. So sometimes I do think it catches up with him a little bit.
It'd be like how would you two feel if you were running Stretford Paddock all the time?
No,
you get fed up, wouldn't you? You get fed up, wouldn't you?
Thankfully, this is first video we've done together. To be honest with you,
Bruno Fernandes, 2021, got 28 goals, 17 assists in 58 games. Then the season after got 10 goals, 14 assists, which I think was his lowest. Season after that was 14 goals, 15 assists. 22-23 season was 15 goals, 13 assists. Then this season is 19 goals, 19 assists.
This is his best ever season, isn't it?
I think technically the first full season when it was 28 goals, 17 assists. This is the most assists he's ever got in a season.
So he's one goal away from...
Yeah,
right?
I think, if he gets another goal, another assist, it'd be 20 goals, 20 assists, which is just outrageous, isn't it? So, yeah, I mean, shout out to Bruno Fernandes. I think we should be positive as well.
Don't want to put it all on him, but he's one of the reasons I've got a little bit of hope going into Wednesday.
Yeah, me too.
When you've got someone like Bruno, you've always got a puncher's chance, haven't you? Like
a puncher's chance. We're playing Spurs, for God's sake. Where's your positivity?
I think we'll win, but we have also lost 3 times from this season.
Exactly, and how often do you lose 4 times to a team?
Never.